Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a pretty wild thought experiment. It's a hypothetical philosophy designed to take our most fundamental ideas about ambition and success and just flip them completely on their head. We're going to explore a radical takedown of Western values, one that doesn't just question our drive to achieve, but actually argues for dismantling it entirely. And it does so by using the very tools of the philosophy it wants to replace.
So let's kick things off with an idea you're probably pretty familiar with, even if you don't know it by this name, the Faustian spirit. This is that deep-seated belief that humanity's whole purpose is to conquer, to build, to overcome. That relentless drive to leave our mark on the universe.
This philosophy basically paints humanity as this unstoppable force of nature, shaping the world through sheer will. It's the engine behind everything we call progress. But what if this entire worldview is, well, just plain wrong?
And this is where a challenger steps into the ring. But they're not offering a new way to strive. They're offering a reason to stop altogether.
This is the central question posed by a hypothetical figure we're going to call the Soothsayer. And he offers a counter-narrative that reframes all our ambitions not as these noble pursuits, but as a kind of delirium, a fever dream.
The Soothsayer argues that the Earth is completely indifferent to our ambitions. It's not some canvas for our grand creations, but more like a waiting room, a place where our biggest projects just kind of hang out before they eventually turn back to dust.
In this view, the Earth isn't looking to us for meaning. Not at all. It's just seeking its own stillness, its own final rest. And our most ambitious projects, they're really just temporary distractions in the grand scheme of things.
So the Soothsayer calls this whole ambition thing the will to distraction. It's like we're all in this frantic dance, not because we want to, but because we're too exhausted to just sit still and endure the world as it is. The core idea here is that our constant need to achieve is really just a way of running from the simple and maybe terrifying act of just being. We strive because we're afraid of the silence.
But the Soothsayer doesn't just critique ambition. He actually offers a blueprint for dismantling it. So let's take a look at how this philosophy proposes we unlearn our deep-seated need to strive for more.
He proposes something called a metamorphosis in reverse, which is a direct parody of Nietzsche's famous idea of the spirit's evolution, from the burdened camel to the defiant lion to the creative child. But instead of moving towards some powerful overman, this is a three-step journey away from the will to power and toward a state of complete rest.
And to do this, he offers two symbolic tools. First is the Soothsayer's glass. It's a mirror that doesn't show you what you could be, but instead reveals the ultimate pointlessness of your actions. Then there's the obsidian owl, which acts as a model, this cold, passionless, finished observer of a world that's already complete. At the very heart of this philosophy is the gray truth. This is the stark realization that our frantic sense of progress is just an illusion. It's like walking on a sphere. You might feel like you're moving forward, but you're ultimately just ending up right back where you started.
The end goal here is to reach a state of such profound acceptance that even hope itself is seen as a burden. From this point of view, hope is the very last thing that ties us to the exhausting, endless cycle of striving.
Okay, so this leads us to the philosophical core of the whole thing, a total inversion of what it even means to be a hero.
So instead of self-overcoming, which is all about the hero climbing the mountain and fighting gravity, the Soothsayer proposes self-undergoing. Here, the new hero is the one who learns to let go, who embraces the fall, and sees ceasing not as a failure, but as a genuine gift, a release.
What's really amazing here is the reframing of Nietzsche's famous will to power. That sacred fire, that drive to create and strive, gets totally transformed. The Soothsayer provocatively calls it the will to nap, but what it really stands for is a deeper will to stillness, a state of passive acceptance and cool reflection.
And this just perfectly illustrates the redefinition of human potential. The Übermensch, or overman, is brushed aside as a glittering lie, a goal that's perpetually out of reach, something that just keeps us running. The true ideal in this philosophy is the finished man, the one who finds fulfillment simply by ceasing to strive.
The final destination of this whole path is something called the happiness of the grave. I know it's a poetic and maybe dark term, but think of it as a state of perfect, unburdened peace. It's like the holy peace of a broken clock that no longer has to pretend it knows the time. It no longer has to become.
So this new philosophy, it all culminates in its own kind of sermon.
An anti-gospel for the end of things, delivered not on a mountain, but at the quiet edge of the world.
The Soothsayer offers up new beatitudes, but they completely invert our usual values. They don't praise strength or virtue. They praise completion and rest. To be finished is to be free from all demands.
This one is a direct challenge to Nietzsche's concept of eternal recurrence, that idea that we have to live our lives over and over again for eternity. Instead of embracing that, the Soothsayer's gospel says, nope, non-existence is a welcome release from that cycle.
And here, the ultimate ideal becomes the inanimate object, a stone. It's achieved a state of perfect, untroubled being. It isn't striving to become anything else because it has already arrived.
So the key takeaway here isn't nihilism. It's not the belief that life is meaningless. It's about freeing ourselves from the constant pressure, from that perceived obligation to always become something more than what we already are.
And this brings us to the big central question. Is this philosophy of self-undergoing a profound form of liberation, or is it just a beautiful excuse for giving up? Is it the ultimate freedom or the ultimate surrender? That's something to think about.